Welcome to the Perfect Season podcast. It is Thursday, December 26th, 2024. As we record this, it's maybe Friday, December 27th, as you listen to it. Or maybe it's December 28th or the
Yeah,
29th, or
the new
maybe,
year.
maybe it's the new year. But by that point, you already know what happens in week 17 of the NFL regular season. He's Antonio. I'm Frankie. We're the Perfect Season podcast alongside Alex, Lucas, Jake, and Leon,
Mhm.
who couldn't be with us tonight, but that's okay. It is the holiday season. Anthony, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry
Belated
Christmas to
Christmas.
you.
Thank you.
Feels
Thank you.
feels great to be back.
It does feel great to be back. It really does. Good episode last week, Alex, Lucas, and yours truly. Anthony, we wish you were on because I know you would have had a lot to say about the Heisman Trophy decision.
Ashton Genty should have won it.
I mean, look, I
And
played both
if he's the people's choice,
the
but
people's choice.
the media wanted Travis Hunter because he's a two-way player and plays for Colorado and plays wide receiver, corner, code plays for Dion, plays for Shador, like one of the arguably best known college football players there is, who's
Yeah,
projected to be the number two overall pick.
I definitely think you're right with that. I mean, when you have a player who was so good at playing both sides of the ball, offense, defense, and playing wide receiver and defensive back, for me, that's why I would have voted for Travis Hunter because when you
Yeah.
have a player who's as great as he is, he rarely comes around. The last time we saw a player of his caliber that was a two-way player was his coach,
Yep.
Coach Dion Primetime Sanders. But I do agree with you that Ashton Jenny, I mean, any other year, Ashton Jenny would have won this award in a landslide.
Oh yeah.
When you look at the numbers he put up, and luckily for him, he's got up to 3 games left to play this season in the
Mhm.
Verbo Fiesta Bowl, one of the college football playoff quarterfinal games on New Year's Eve. That's on New Year's Eve night. That's gonna be a fun
That's
game.
gonna be a good game.
Boise State and Penn State. Excuse my um text in the background going off if you just heard that. So anyway, um the Heisman Trophy has been decided. We know that. The college football playoff is one round in. There were 4 games last week. And Anthony, I don't know about you, but I think all 4 games, the results were expected.
I would say they were expected. It's just I would say Clemson, Texas, that was a lot closer than a lot of people imagined. A lot closer. Clemson will be back, I will say that right now. But, Ohio State beating, oh my God, who did Ohio State play?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. I thought that game would have been a lot closer, there's a lot of hype going into it, but Ryan Day, he doesn't always succeed in the big game, as we like to say. But Ohio State came in there, knocked the doors off, and now you got a rematch with Oregon. And
Yeah,
I still think Oregon takes it all. I think Oregon takes it all. They got a great coach,
yeah.
great quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, per, gonna declare for the 2025 NFL draft. We'll get into that later.
He should. I mean, he should. I mean, he's been in
Yeah.
college football for. I mean, this is his seventh season
Yeah.
of college football. But I think what's interesting with what I saw in the first round last week was you're right about Ohio State, and I was a little nervous for them coming off of that debacle against the team up north. But they came out and they said, "Okay, we're gonna get back to who we are, which
Yeah.
is we're gonna throw the ball. We're gonna, go to Jeremiah Smith early and often, which they did. Smith had 2 touchdowns, including one on the first drive,
Yeah.
and then defensively, they punched Tennessee in the mouth early.
Mhm.
They got after their quarterback Nico Iamaleava. They shut down their running game. Tennessee had, I mean, they could not get anything going
No.
consistently. They couldn't sustain anything. That was the biggest game of the weekend to me. And Ohio State just really controlled it from start to
Oh
finish. And
yeah.
I mean, 3 weeks off, it looked like they were unleashing 3 weeks of anger on
Oh
Tennessee. And Tennessee was nowhere near ready for the cold.
no.
The other
And
big
neither
game,
neither was Indiana. You know.
I mean, they should have been. I mean, they played
I
in the
mean, yeah, but I also heard, between Indiana and Notre Dame, Notre Dame's the football school, Indiana is the basketball school, but you know, good for Indiana making it all the way into the college football playoff. It's
I
gonna
think that's
be it's gonna be a phenomenal year next year.
Yeah, I mean, and let's go to this because there was a lot of conversation about, should the playoff have been expanded to 12 teams? Is 12 teams too much?
I love it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and there was a stat brought up on Tuesday that the the average margin of victory in the first round this week was like 18 or 19 and something like that. My point is this, I shouldn't say numbers without knowing exactly, but
Yeah.
my point is the margin of victory in the first round this weekend compared to the 10 years of the 14 playoff were actually very similar.
Hmm.
So that tells you that it doesn't make a difference how many teams are in. And let's be honest, where you look at the unique element of this first round, this weekend's first round matchup, was that it was played on college campuses.
Hmm.
It was played, I mean, teams had home field advantage. And we're talking about Notre Dame, we're talking about Penn State, we're talking about Texas, we're
Texas.
talking about Ohio State. And so when you combine that element with the fact that it was cold at three of the locations, I mean, SMU had to go to Penn State. They were nowhere near ready for that.
No.
Tennessee had to go to Ohio State. They weren't ready for that. And as far as Indiana and Notre Dame, you can say Indiana wasn't ready for the cold. Notre Dame was just too much up front. You saw the way Notre Dame ran the football on
Oh yeah.
last week.
Notre Dame ran all over. They ran all over Indiana. So
They did.
it's gonna be this year going into or this week, my bad, going into the college football playoff, round two of the playoffs. It's gonna be a lot of good games, a lot of excitement, a
Mhm.
lot of potential. Maybe we'll see an upset, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll see some more blowouts. So, you never know what's gonna happen with college football.
I think you're going to see an upset this week.
Who we taking upset?
I'm taking Notre Dame.
Notre Dame over Georgia.
I am.
See, here's my take. Georgia's starting a backup quarterback. Georgia struggled this whole dang year. So I got Notre Dame coming in there and beating Georgia by 2 touchdowns.
By 2 touchdowns.
By 2 touchdowns.
See, here's my thing about that. I mean, that's actually not that bold of a take, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because I think Notre Dame matches up well with Georgia. I think Georgia, like you said, they've been struggling all season, and the fact that they haven't really looked like a complete team. Their two
Hmm.
best games this season were against Texas,
Oh yeah,
and it's not like those were and it's not like those were great performances either.
right.
The road game at Texas was great, but I mean they won on a neutral field in a game where they had to kick like three field goals. So how good are they really? You know, they
Or
They beat Kentucky.
yeah,
They beat Kentucky by 1 point on the road. I mean, yeah, it's a road win, but still, you beat Kentucky by one.
right.
And don't. And if anybody says, "Well, they lost by seven, Alabama," they were down 33. They were down like 30 something and nothing in that game.
Oh yeah,
So for anyone out there that says, Georgia's still this vaunted team, I don't think that they're a vaunted team. I think that they got lucky this year with an SEC that is. I don't think it's as strong as it's been in recent seasons. I still think it's strong, but I think Notre Dame goes. I think Notre Dame knows they match up well with Georgia. I think they can go toe to toe with them physically.
right.
I think everything Notre Dame has done this season, I think they've played with a chip on their shoulder. I think that after the Northern Illinois game, it woke them up. And now they get to go to a place where they're familiar with, New Orleans.
The
I'm
big
sure
easy.
Georgia is too, but I gotta, I'm feeling pretty good about Notre Dame pulling off that upset. Um, Here's the other thing too, and I couldn't believe when I heard this. So on ESPN Bet, Boise State is an 11-point underdog to Penn State.
Interesting.
And yet Boise State's a 3 seed and Penn State's a 6.
Do we see an upset coming in there?
I mean, in terms of the spread, yes, it is defined as an upset,
Right.
but it's not really an upset.
No, because you got Boise State obviously as a higher seed.
Correct.
But
And honestly, I
I
think
think
Boise
the
State's a
reason
better team.
why you got Penn State favored, look at what they dismantled Georgia, belt to ass, hands down.
Penn State dismantled Georgia?
I mean SMU.
That's fair. I mean, yeah,
Penn State dismantled SMU, so I think that's why I'm saying you got Penn State as the favorite over Boise State. Because you saw what they did.
yeah.
Penn State's been in these games before, you know, but
They haven't been in these
it's
games.
anyone's game on
That's the
any
thing.
given
They haven't
Saturday.
been in these games before.
It's any given Saturday.
It is. Well, in this
We
case,
could see.
It's any given Tuesday in this case. Here's my
Yeah.
thing though, Anthony. And here's my thing. If when you look at Penn State and why they're favored by 11, it's not just like you said they dismantled SMU, but also they played in the best conference in the country this season, the
Oh,
Big
I
Ten,
agree.
and they played Oregon to a 7 point game in the Big Ten championship when really nobody gave them a chance. And so you combine that with they just played in the first round against SMU and dismantled
Yeah.
them. And Boise State played in the Mountain West. Their best opponent this year was Oregon, and given they played them tough,
Yeah.
but outside of Oregon, who did Boise State play? And they barely won their Mountain West Conference championship game. If they
Yeah.
had lost that game, would have been see you later.
Hmm.
So, but how are you an 11 point underdog when the game is being played in your part of the country?
Right.
Penn State has to go all the way across the country to Glendale, Arizona. Boise State just has
Mhm.
to go up from Boise, Idaho to Glendale.
And you think, honestly, I have a feeling with east to west going, getting your clock set back a couple hours, and you got that, you're going to be sleep deprived. So,
Well, my guess is they're going to get there a few days early.
oh,
I
they're
mean,
going to get there a few days early, acclimate to the weather,
actually, I really don't know.
acclimate to the time, get,
I really don't know if they're going to get there a few days early because it used to be that way when you played in like the semifinals. But now that there are more games potentially in a playoff, but you also have to have practice time,
hmm
unless there's media obligations, and there probably is.
right.
I actually don't really know what the travel schedule looks like for both teams. But that's an
It's going to
interesting
be
point.
in.
That's a very interesting point.
No, I
Boise State has the
100%.
advantage. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Boise State has had a lot of rest.
Hmm.
So you're gonna
Boise State has had basically almost a month's worth of rest.
they play
Now,
December
now let me
5th.
let me let me ask you this:
Okay.
Is all that rest for Boise State gonna come back and bite them in the ass? Excuse my language.
I don't think it will. No, you can say that
Because
word.
some teams when they get a lot of rest, when you look at comparing it to the NFL, when you compare it to the NFL, when you have a game on a Thursday, let's just say Thursday night football, you have that game and you got like a mini bye week, and you don't play till next Sunday. So you got a lot of rest for there. Some of the teams don't come out hot out of the gate.
Yeah, and that is fair, but I'm gonna say that it doesn't affect them. You have to remember with Boise State that with their style of play and up tempo, I think having had a lot of rest is going to help them.
Hmm.
I think Ashton Jennings going to be refreshed. I think he's going to feel rejuvenated. I think he has something to prove
Hmm.
because of what happened in the Heisman Trophy decision. I think also Boise State has been in this position before.
Right,
They
right,
have been in this position where they have played in, you know, big time bowl games. Now this is their first time in the playoff, but they played in BCS bowl games and won. They
hmm
played in New Year's Six bowl games, and I think they won in 2014. Don't
right.
quote me on that, but they are they have been in this position before, and they have managed the long layoff very well. So, I and here's the other thing too, like the spread tells you that Penn State should win this game,
Hmm.
but we know James Franklin doesn't. James Franklin
James Franklin doesn't
likes
perform well in the big game also.
no, it gets out coached. Penn State doesn't perform well. They get beaten up physically. It's
They've come close a couple times. They've come prepared, but it's
I,
not.
I agree with you. They've been slightly better this year, but
I
still
agree, but
you cannot trust them.
no.
But then again, Boise State has never been in the playoff.
So it's a catch 22 basically, where it's like,
Correct.
where, yeah,
Still a really interesting game.
no, it's
Uh,
a lot on the line.
best game of the quarterfinals to me is New Year's Day at the Rose Bowl. Ohio State and Oregon.
I got
They
it.
played they played a fantastic game earlier this year. You may have watched it on NBC.
Mm.
Oregon won 32-31. It was Ohio State's one of two losses for them this year. Oregon's undefeated. In fact, they're the only undefeated team in the playoff.
I'm not trying to be like, oh, is Oregon gonna lose this game? Is this a revenge game for Ohio State? You know, but it's in the Rose Bowl, nighttime game. I have a feeling nighttime
Well,
game under
I mean, it's a 5 o'clock kickoff, so
five
it'll
o'clock
be
kickoff.
dark by the time the game ends.
Oh yeah, but I think Oregon comes out and beats them. I think it's going to be another close game. Another close game. Dylan Gabriel versus Will Howard. I think it's going to be an offensive shootout.
I think it's definitely going to be an offensive shootout too, because I mean that you saw that in the first game that these two teams played in October.
Hmm.
But my my thing is this. This is Ohio State's game to lose.
Oh yeah. Can Ohio State?
Okay,
Can Ohio?
but do you know what I mean by that?
Yes and no.
Okay, what do you think I mean by that?
Like
When I
when you say it's their game to lose, I'm thinking, Ohio State's coming in momentum, just beat Tennessee. Yeah, you have a two-loss season. Shake that off. Ryan Day won the big game. He won the big game. You're now going to the Rose Bowl. Going to the
Mhm,
Rose Bowl to play an undefeated, dominant Oregon team, dominant, very dominant,
mhm.
who has been dominant all year. In
But
my
are they dominant? Are they dominant
first
or
two
they
weeks, first 2 weeks weren't dominant. They struggled, but look at the last however many.
are
Look at
they
the last however.
dominant or are they dominant or are they just undefeated?
I mean, it's a you could say both. You could say both.
Okay, so I mean, here's the thing, because I have said this season that Oregon is the best team in the country
Hmm.
because A, they're undefeated. B, I think they're the most well-rounded team. But when I saw their draw and I saw that they were going to play Ohio State potentially in the um quarterfinals of the college football playoff, that got me nervous. So their results this season,
Oregon,
okay, they won 24-14 over Idaho. Idaho's an FCS school.
when Oregon, you're talking about
Okay.
Oregon, right?
Yeah. Oregon beat Boise State 37-34. Okay.
Okay,
That's actually, an okay final score.
that's week
49
two.
49-14 over Oregon State. That's dominant.
That's week three.
Yeah.
Okay,
34-13 over UCLA.
34-13.
Oh, that was a road win. So that's
Uh,
a anytime you win by 21 on the road, it's a good win.
I agree.
31-10 over Michigan State.
Given.
I mean, that was a home game, but still you win by 3 touchdowns. Then the Ohio State game. Then on a short week, they go to Purdue and win 35-0. That's a dominant win.
Well, Purdue's also,
Yeah,
you know,
they had a very, very frustrating season, to
yeah,
say the least. They beat Illinois 38-9. That's a very good win. Illinois
that's
was
a
ranked
great one.
at the time. That's a very good win. Went on the
Grant,
road, beat Michigan
granted,
38.
also, granted, also that Illinois has been up and down lately, but
True, but they were a solid
good
team this
win,
year.
good win.
They go to Michigan and win 38-17. That's a very dominant win
That's
then.
a dominant win in that school's.
Correct. They beat Maryland 39-18.
Surprised they let them get 18
The home
points.
win. Maryland's not a bad team either.
Maryland has its ups, has its downs.
Yeah. They beat Wisconsin on the road 16-13.
16-13.
Yeah, and Wisconsin wasn't really that great this year, but still, you're on the road, tough environment.
Yeah.
Camp Randall Stadium. 49-21 over Washington. That's a very good win.
Hmm.
A team that you lost to twice last year, played in the national championship, Washington. And then they beat Penn State 45-37 in the Big Ten championship. So here's my thing. Now that we've seen those, they have been a dominant team. I mean,
Hmm.
they won all the games they were supposed to win. They played some close games, but they also won the games they weren't supposed to win, the Ohio
Right.
State game. But they've had a long layoff. And here's the other thing, too, Anthony. I think you know this. The rematch favors the team that lost the first game
Oh, yeah.
because you can make adjustments, right?
Hmm.
There's no pressure, even though there is.
Yeah.
To your point, Ryan Day, look, Ohio State fans will tell you he tenses, he cramps, he clamps
Oh,
up
yeah.
in big games. Okay, fine. Did you watch the game last week against Tennessee? That was a big game, as you said.
Yeah, it was. And
You have
I
an
called it.
SEC.
I still I still think if he doesn't win the big game, he's on the hot seat. That's my two.
But what's the big game? This game?
I mean, yes, you lost to Michigan. You lost to Michigan, a game y'all should have won.
Yes. Ohio
And
State fans
that
know.
you also lost.
Ohio State fans know that. They're,
Yeah.
they're they're not focused on can you win the national championship. You got to win 2 games to get there.
Hmm. Yeah, I say you got to take it game by game. Just
Exactly.
you because you got Oregon this week. And then if you beat Oregon, who do you play?
You would play the winner of Texas and Arizona State,
So then we
who
could
I
have
also think Ohio State could beat.
I'm yeah, I mean I'm 50-50 about Oregon, Ohio State because both teams very good teams.
Yeah, they're very good teams.
Oregon has had some dominant victories, but they've also struggled.
I
And my
felt like
thing is the rest going to catch up to Oregon? Is it going to catch up to Oregon? And is Oregon going to not be prepared going into this game?
I think that's a fair question, and I also think about this though. This was Oregon's first season in the Big Ten, a step up from the Pac-12, the former
Mm,
Pac-12. They
rest in
went
peace.
undefeated. They went undefeated.
Yeah.
They're 13-0. So
Is
clearly they were
that
so clearly they're a good team. They're a
mm,
very good team. But I think what's fascinating to me about this game is Ohio State had 3 weeks of anger built up from
oh yeah.
the game against Michigan. They took it out on Tennessee.
Oh, I agree.
Let me tell you something. I was at that game.
Oh
Okay.
well, yeah, actually, how was it?
Oh, it's one of the best atmosphere. It's one of the best atmospheres I've ever been in.
A lot of orange.
There actually was. You're right, and it was crazy to me walking through campus, and you know, it was unbelievable to me. But I remember just when Ohio State ran out on the field to Hell's Bells, one of the great
Mhm.
sports songs. I knew it was game on.
Oh yeah.
They played with an edge that I had not seen from them all season.
Mm,
So I think that Michigan game was the wake up call. I think they're going to nip Oregon barely.
mm.
Okay, so we've hit on three of the matchups. The other matchup, the fourth quarterfinal, it's not the greatest matchup if you ask
It's
me.
not the it's not the flavory.
Is flavor even a word?
You know what I'm trying to say.
Not the spiciest. I like to say spicy a
It's
lot.
not the it's not the Shazam at the dinner table.
Shazam. It's not. No, it's
It's
not.
like if you were to go to a fancy steakhouse, if you were to go to a fancy steakhouse and you order a steak, but it comes out burnt.
Yeah. Well, it's not the filet mignon of steak matchups. This is like the ribeye of steak matchups,
It's like the
in my opinion.
you got the fancy $200 steak,
Yep.
you got the $30 steak.
I don't even think. Yeah. I mean, first off, it's Texas, Arizona State.
Once again, Arizona State never been in the playoffs.
Never been in the playoff. They've been overachieving all season. They were picked to finish 16th out of 16 teams in the Big 12. Fun fact. I don't know if you knew that. Um, Texas, aside from two, just didn't look good against Georgia games.
Texas is
I've
also
looked very good.
it's also
And they're in
can
the SEC for the first time.
can Quinn
I'm sorry.
Ewers
Oh, yeah, they are.
can Quinn not throw any interceptions?
I think you will. I think Texas
I
is
think
going to
he'll
be.
throw maybe one or two, but I don't
Arizona State is a good secondary. Don't get me wrong, but I think Texas controls the line of scrimmage in this game.
they control the run game.
What's going to be very interesting is this is the first time in the playoff era where we're going to get teams who've already played a game versus
Hmm.
teams who have not already played a game.
Yeah.
It's very much like how the NFL playoffs used to be, where you had two teams on bye
Yeah.
and you had the four divisional matchups were always between two teams. One played the previous week, the other didn't.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that's the quarterfinals coming up New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Let's get to NFL Week 17
Hmm.
Christmas games, which I'll say this, Antonio, I thought Netflix did a great job with the broadcasts.
It was much better, very much better than the Mike Tyson fight.
Well, I definitely agree with you on that, and I think that
Yeah.
definitely had a
But
lot of
no,
people
they
feeling
did.
apprehensive about it. Here's my biggest takeaway from yesterday.
Mhm.
I'll get to the Chiefs in a minute because I know we're going to talk about that.
Oh yeah. The worst 15-1 team in the league.
Eh, has Lamar Jackson re-entered the MVP race?
Mhm. Or has Houston not been that good? You got
I think it's a combination of both.
Stephon Diggs out torn ACL.
Tank Dell, who
Tank
who
Dell,
we
dear
wish him
Lord.
very well. I mean, that's a horrible injury.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's a combination of the Texans maybe aren't as good as I thought they were going to be this year. Because I mean, before the season, I said, "Hey, who's to say they can't challenge the Chiefs?"
Yeah. Let me just show you or tell
But
you.
you, but you just but you've in 5 days, you've played the Chiefs and the Ravens, and you've gotten punked.
I'm gonna tell you this right now though.
Okay,
Look at this. You got from preseason, the Lions beat the Chiefs 24-23. Given. The Bears beat the Chiefs 34-21. The Chiefs beat the Ravens 27-20. Chiefs beat the Bengals 26-25.
you're going through all the scores.
Yeah. Chiefs beat
Oh
the
God,
Falcons 22-17.
yeah,
Chiefs beat the Chargers 17-10. They beat the Saints 26-13. Beat the Niners 28-19. Beat the Raiders by 7, 27-20. A lot closer than I thought.
yeah.
The only game they scored 30 points was against the Bucks, 30 to
There's
23.
another game, but
No,
you're right. It's one of them.
Broncos Chiefs. Chiefs won 16 to 14.
Oh, they got lucky that game.
Bills Chiefs 30 to 21. Chiefs Panthers 30 to 27.
So that's the only other game they scored
19 to
30.
17.
Okay.
19 to 17 against the Chargers, 21-7, 27-19, and 29-10. So take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt that yeah, the Chiefs are 15-1, but you got to think about it like this. Look at the quality of the wins. Look at the quality of these wins.
Okay. I mean, they
Are
beat.
they the best 15 and are they the worst 15-1 team in all the NFL?
There's no such thing as the worst 15-1 team in the NFL because if you're 15-1, that shows you that you know how to consistently
Yeah,
win
but you're
games.
you're the
You
games
don't have to look
the
prolific doing it.
games
Go
the
ahead.
games against the Saints, games against Vegas, the whole division, everything. Those should have been blowouts. Those
You
should
can
have
say
been blown.
you can say they should have been, but at the same time, those are division games. Those are the teams that know you the best. Division games are supposed to be like that.
I still
They're
think
they're supposed to be slogs. They're supposed to be grinders.
I'm agreeing to disagree with you, but they struggled. I've also had some other conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories?
Yeah. Oh, we also have 10 minutes left, by the way.
We might spend the last 10 minutes talking about the Chiefs,
Oh God.
even though there are some really good matchups still to come.
Let's go
Here's
over
my
the
thing.
map.
Here's my thing. Okay.
But
I've
in
said
my
I've said
other my
go
other
ahead.
conspiracy theory, you know how Mahomes sprained his ankle 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and he's been really good since then, ironically.
You do not recover from a sprained ankle in 2 days.
Maybe he's just a tougher athlete than we give him
Now
credit for.
I'm gonna ask you this.
You have to remember before you ask me this, you have to remember when my team, the Bengals, played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago, he had a high ankle sprain. He played that game.
Is Mahomes on PEDs? And
No,
the NFL won't come out and say it.
no. He's just a very physically gifted quarterback.
Or is the Chiefs offensive line also not being called for certain penalties?
You know what I say to that, okay? And look, everybody on Twitter, fans want to talk about, the Chiefs get all the calls. Okay, fine. They did the same thing with Brady and the Patriots. They did the same thing even with Peyton Manning and the Colts or the Broncos. They probably did it with
I'm
Brady.
just
They
saying.
probably they probably did it with Brady and the Buccaneers. You just don't remember it because you were so happy Brady was on your team. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there's a time and place for everything. There's
There
a
is,
time.
but you get the benefit of the doubt when you're really good, which is what the Chiefs are. They're just a really good, consistently great team.
Touche.
I mean, here's the thing. They've played their best 2 games of the season the past 5 days or 6 days, whatever, against two teams that are going to the playoffs. One team that's won their division. And so I'm starting to think for the first time this season, they actually might three-peat.
Me personally, Baltimore gets their revenge.
See, that's where I want to go next because I think you're
Also,
actually,
that game,
I think you're right.
that
I
game
think you're right.
completely, that was belt to ass. That was a clinic.
I was not expecting the Ravens to dominate the game the way
I
they
was
did.
not expecting a scoregami.
Yeah, that's weird. 31-2.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so weird. I mean, I saw a 24.
Houston couldn't get anything going.
Oh, they couldn't get anything going. They had no answer for Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. They had no answer for Lamar Jackson. They had no answer for Derrick Henry. And by the way, it's not like they don't see the Ravens that often or Derrick Henry that often. Derrick Henry used to play in their own division.
That is true.
Derrick Henry, I mean, what we're seeing from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I can't remember a quarterback and a running back that have been so prolific in the same season.
Right.
I mean, people were like, is this signing gonna work? Like, what's this signing gonna do? It's totally worked.
Hmm.
Because now when Lamar runs, he's running because he's not running because he's escaping and he's getting timid in the pocket. He's running because he thinks that's the best way to make this play.
Right.
I mean, he's throwing the ball as well. He he has a career high in passing yards this season.
Not bad for a
He's,
running
he's going to
back.
eclipse he's going to eclipse 4,000 yards next week for the first time in his career.
Right.
So, I mean, he hasn't just re-entered the MVP conversation. He's thrown 39 touchdown passes this year.
Hmm.
And Derrick Henry has almost 1,800 yards rushing. I mean, what we're seeing from these guys in their prime is ridiculous. I'm surprised the Ravens aren't better than 11-5.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost to the Chiefs by 7, and they could have won that game. Your Raiders beat them by 3 in week 2. They lost to the Browns in week 8 by 5. I still don't understand that loss. They lost to
Right.
Pittsburgh by 2 when Derrick Henry didn't get a carry in the fourth quarter of that game. Still don't understand that. And then they lost to the Eagles by 7 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and their last 3 games, they've outscored their opponents 100-33. Derrick Henry had 162 against Pittsburgh, 147 against Houston. He has 309 rushing yards in his last 2 games. And they came in a 5-day span.
Not bad for a running back.
The timeliness of that was perfect. Okay.
I think Baltimore takes it this year.
Well, the last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, they won it. So,
Hmm.
okay, we got about 5 minutes left. Thursday Night Football tonight, which is going on right now, Seahawks and Bears. I mean, the Bears are a mess. I
Oh,
mean,
they're
they're
fine.
what?
The Bears are a dumpster fire.
The Seattle's hanging around. I
Hmm.
picked Seattle to win the game. I think it'll be close though. Um, by the way, did you know Geno Smith is one of 4 quarterbacks in the league this year with 5 300-yard passing games?
Hmm.
The other 3, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield slept on, in my opinion.
I think he is.
He
All right,
does
so
not. He does not get the respect he deserves.
he has matured. He has evolved. I give Liam Cohen a lot of credit. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he's been this season for you guys. Your offensive coordinator. I do.
I love the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I do. I'm now seeing you and Jake talk about this a lot. Todd Bowles and his shortcomings. I do start to see what you guys are saying
But I'm
because
gonna say it right now. The 49ers game, the Chiefs game, the oh God.
I mean you can name any game. The Rams playoff game
Yeah.
3 years ago when he was still the defensive coordinator. I mean
What I
he
noticed from him to Bruce Arians, Arians had the no risk and no biscuit.
well
Arians was amazing.
Arians was a good game manager. He coached the game situationally as well as anybody.
And then you got Todd Bowles, who's conservative and won't use his timeouts.
Well, that's because he's a defensive coordinator's mindset.
If you're a defensive coordinator against the 49ers and then, you see them march down the field and you have all 3 timeouts left, I would have used all 3.
Yeah, I
That's the
mean,
momentum.
yeah, I agree with you. Buccaneers host the Panthers this week. Carolina's playing a little better. Bryce Young has made some strides this season. I still think Tampa Bay wins that game though on Sunday. Saturday, you got 3 games. You've got Chargers at Patriots, Broncos at Bengals, and Cincinnati. I'll be at that game, and then you got the Cardinals and the Rams.
Honestly, first game Chargers, Patriots. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah.
Patriots. It was fun while it lasted. Rebuild for next year.
I am really curious to see if Jerome Mayo does come back.
That's also, the debate. Does AP come back?
I highly doubt it.
I mean, here's my take.
Raiders, by the way, are at the Saints this week. What a terrible matchup that is. Well, I shouldn't say. I mean, it's not the spiciest matchup, but I mean,
Yeah,
look, I mean,
no,
the Saints just got drubbed by the Packers.
yeah. But it is what it is. I don't want to say, oh yeah, AP is going to be fired, and then you got another year, another new head coach.
Yeah,
Tom Telesco's done an amazing job,
got about 100 seconds left.
but
I agree with you on the Chargers. I
I
like
I'm
them.
50-50 about AP fired, AP not fired.
Definitely an interesting situation unfolding in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
I like the Broncos over the Bengals. I know I'm a Bengals fan, but I gotta be realistic. I think Denver's going to win that game in an offensive shootout, and then I'll take the Rams over the Cardinals Saturday night. Sunday, my favorite game, Anthony, Green Bay, Minnesota, 425 on Fox, America's game of the week. That is an elite matchup.
I agree 100%. I'm honestly Sam Darnold. He's
Yeah,
honestly got surprised me this year.
I'm taking Minnesota too in that game.
I'm taking
Um,
Minnesota by 27-26.
ooh, man, that's good. Sunday Night Football, really good matchup. It was flexed. Falcons Commanders, Michael Penix Jr. against Jaden Daniels. I think that's going to be a very close matchup. I think Atlanta still has a really good team, but I'm going to take the Commanders at home. They're rolling right now. Jaden
Oh yeah,
Daniels playing some excellent football. Got about 30 to 45 seconds. Monday Night Football, Lions Niners rematch the NFC Championship game. The Niners have already been eliminated from playoff contention. Lions playing for a lot. Give me the Lions.
give me the Lions too.
All right, that does it for us today. Thank you for watching. Have a happy holidays, and we will talk to you maybe in 2025 or again in 2024 right here on the Perfect Season podcast. He's Antonio. I'm Frankie.